And then the next company you joined, LeanData, I was a
Yep.
customer of. I remember LeanData. I remember at Lattice, I was doing all the sales routing myself, even as the marketing lead. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. I don't really care who the leads go to. I'm just trying to get you guys more leads. And so we ended up buying LeanData, which was a great tool. And you joined there back in a more traditional like VP of RevOps role. And I think it was like a bigger company when you joined. Is that right?
I did. I mean, the story there is kind of funny too, and it kind of speaks. I love people love hearing this story because everyone was like, God, Don, how did you find this job? How did you do this? How did you land? At all these companies, and a lot of it, not all of it, but a lot of it was as a result of my network. Right? It just goes to speak of how important it is to be meticulous about how you're building your network on LinkedIn, right? Generally speaking, my network is pretty much people I have either worked with, met at conferences, spoke with at conferences or been on calls with. Like I try to make my network that, and I just don't randomly add people because I want it to be valuable to me, right? And LeanData came about because one of my managers back in 1997, like my second job, was a guy by the name of Steve DeMarco. And we worked at a company called Ramp Networks. Was there a couple of years. They got acquired by Nokia. It was a company that was bonding together 56K modem lines to provide like router, like high speed internet, like combining
Oh, that's funny.
56K
Yeah.
modems. It was a great product, right? Like today, it wouldn't make any sense, but and so he was my manager, and I just always stayed in contact with him. He happened to play hockey. I played hockey. I'd see him at the rink. I would see him at Sharks games. He was kind of still he was in the Salesforce ecosystem. I ended up in the Salesforce. We would see each other at events and whatnot. He kind of tracked my career. I kind of tracked his career, and he ended up joining LeanData as a CRO. And he was like, God, Don, I need somebody to help me with RevOps. Like, I know you know how to do this, and like we need somebody to just come in and fix everything that we're doing. And I'm like, okay, and I talked to him, and like one of the downsides of at the time, it's kind of funny, but I was living in San Francisco. LeanData was in Sunnyvale, and I didn't want to drive to Sunnyvale every day. It's like an hour drive, and I don't want to do this every day. I told him, I'm like, look, this is 2019. This is pre-pandemic. They didn't want me, and he wanted me to be in the office every day. I'm like, look, I don't want to go to the office. I don't want to commute. Like, I'm not, and I really don't want to do that. Went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Finally, he comes to me. He's like, Don, look, can you come into the office twice a week? And I'm like, okay, twice a week I can do. And so I ended up moving forward with the interview process. I had my final interview on March 4th, 2020. I got my offer March 5th. And then I said, okay, give me 2 weeks. I was going to start on March 23rd, 2020. So if you remember those dates and kind of what was going on, March 6th, the following week was kind of like, hey, you might have to work from home from this virus is going around, it might be a week or two, and then like, by the time I was supposed to start, everything shut down. So the irony of this was I was complaining about going to the office every day. I got it down to 2 days a week, and it ended up I didn't go to the office for 6 months.
Too funny. Life is funny.
So I joined LeanData. I did it remote, and I didn't meet my team at all. It was just the people that I had interviewed with. And the big thing that I started with there was they wanted somebody to come in and take LeanData and redeploy LeanData within the organization. They were very confident that it would just needed to be reset. And so I went in and I redeployed LeanData and got everything, up and running, back on a new course, brought in some new tech into the tech stack that they didn't have, things that I thought were missing that I thought were important. And I was there almost 5 years. The funny thing with LeanData, when I was at Datahug, back when LeanData was pretty small, and we were kind of bumping into each other because there were some lead matching things that actually Datahug was doing, and we actually stole one of their deals. So I had actually run into Evan and they all knew who I was. I knew who they were. So it was like I wasn't strangers to the company. We were using LeanData at SalesLoft as well when I was there. So it was like all these things everything ties back. Like it's just so important not to burn bridges. It's like, I think Pete said something to me one time, Pete Kazanji. I have to attribute him to this quote, or else he'll kill me. He said, "Life is long and the valley is small." And you keep that in mind as you go forth with what you're doing and how you treat people. And, it's a big deal because, things come back around to you.
Totally. And I think it's amazing how you've built your career too. I mean, it's really fun to watch your career
Yeah.
progression from, like traditional sales rep to sales
Yeah.
ops to the solutions consulting ops thing, back to ops. And then
Yeah.
now, like, you did the VP of business development and alliances at LeanData and your evangelism at Chili Piper. And in some ways you've taken like one of your big strengths, which is the networking and the
Yep.
community around Silicon Valley and all these companies, and actually made that like your day job. It seems like is that sort
Yeah.
of how you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, and again, like if I go back to, if I talk about that for a second, like the LeanData, like what happened to LeanData, like after a couple of years, I kind of got RevOps working, and I was getting bored. Like I was about to leave the company actually, and my CRO was like, "Don, don't leave." He's like, "Hold on, like maybe you could do, we could use you in partnerships." Because I had worked with him in the channel at Ramp. He knew I was really good at doing channel partnerships. And he's like, everything in the tech stack and how it relates to LeanData. So who better to have in partnerships and working with our partners on the tech side than you? That's how I ended up moving into partnerships with LeanData. And it ended up being a really natural progression for me because, again, like understanding, the RevOps, ecosystem, knowing how LeanData fit in all the pieces of the tech, being able to drive those relationships and kind of the art of the possible, ended up being something I was really good at and really enjoyed doing. And then that's how I ended up in partnerships at LeanData. When LeanData came to a close, this is like September of this year, 2024, the day after I got let go, I got laid off from LeanData. The founder of Chili Piper called me, Nicholas Vandenberg. The reason he called me, the reason we were connected, was because when I was at Datahug back in 2015, as I said, we were a Dublin-based company, but we had an office in San Francisco. And the office that we had was kind of in a shared, kind of like WeWork, was a shared office space called Rocket Space, and it was small offices and hot desks. The hot desk that was out there was occupied by Nicholas and his wife Alina because they had just started this company called Chili Piper. And being in that same floor, and we were in an office, off to the side, we would come out and be like, "Hey, what are you working on? Who are you?" There were folks from G2 back when G2 was really small. They were on our floor as well, which would be just like, "Oh, what are you working on?" And we would all go get lunch together. We all get drinks after work, whatever. And I'm still connected to all these people, like early G2 folks, Nicholas from and Alina from Chili Piper. So they knew I was at LeanData. We were a competitor, and he got word that I got let go, and he's like, "Don, how can I help you?" Is literally what he said. It wasn't even, and it wasn't even like, "How are you doing?" or anything. He was like, "How can I help? I want to be able to help you, and let me see what I can do for you." And so now what I'm doing for Chili Piper is it's not even a full-time role. I'm just on contract helping them out with go-to-market. They really want to replicate the partnership program that I had at LeanData that kind of got taken apart about a year ago. Not my choice. Chili Piper had gotten, you know, they had gotten feedback from other partners that like, yeah, LeanData had this great program and now it's gone, and they were like, and then so like Nicholas was like, Don, take whatever you were doing that made those partners happy and replicate it at Chili Piper. And so that's what I'm working on. I'm basically rebuilding the same kind of motion that I had built at LeanData, that made a lot of partners really happy, at Chili Piper.